Hello, this is Dr. Jagannathan. Today I am going to talk a topic on diet. Diet, all of you know, it's an integral part of any life, not only human life, any life needs diet. Without diet, life cannot sustain because diet is responsible for the growth, for energy, and for other functions. And for anything and everything, diet provides the source of energy, the source of factors for growth, the source of factors for immunity, development, all these things. Now, regarding the human diet, we taking a balanced diet? I don't know. When I say balanced diet, you should know what is a balanced diet because diet means you cannot be taking whatever you want in a haphazard manner. There should be an order. There should be a pattern in which you are taking your diet. That is called a balanced diet. A balanced diet is example for human beings. The diet we are taking should be capable of providing all the nutrients responsible for all the functions or for all the necessary functions and also growth and also other factors. That is called a balanced diet. So the balanced diet should not be lacking in anything. If something is lacking in one aspect of the diet, so that particular diet function will be completely stopped. Then a normal human life cannot sustain. So now coming to before talking about a balanced diet, now what is a diet? A diet is a substance that provides growth factors and energy broadly. So they are called nutrients. So when you talk about nutrients, there are two types of nutrients. One is called macronutrient, the other one is called micronutrient. Totally, human body needs 6 nutrients. They are in the diet. The most importantly needed nutrients are one is carbohydrate, second one is protein, third one is fat, fourth one is minerals, fifth one is vitamin, last one is water. Even though I say water is the last one, that water also is very important nutrient. So of the 6 nutrients, the first 3 are called macronutrients: carbohydrates, protein and fat, and vitamins, mineral and water are called micronutrients because depending upon the quantity. But you may think water is taken in large quantity. Usually we take about 1.5 liters per day, but the why water is not included in the macronutrient is the all the whether you take carbohydrate or protein or fat, it's also taken mostly mixed with water. So even though it is a micronutrient, it forms a part of macronutrient also. Now today I am going to talk only about macronutrients because it's a big topic. Macronutrients, I told you, carbohydrate, fat and protein. All the 3 are very, very, very essential because without food, no life can sustain. Especially sustaining of life, either a unicellular organism like take an amoeba or up to an elephant, whatever it is, then the basic things needed is glucose and oxygen. Without glucose and oxygen, no life can sustain. Now, glucose comes from the carbohydrate. So that is the carbohydrate is considered as a primary nutrient. And carbohydrate, I will talk about carbohydrate. Carbohydrate is a chemical substance, contains carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. Now, the carbohydrate, it gives energy. Energy is provided by carbohydrate. And the main function of carbohydrate is provision of energy. Now, when you take carbohydrate, there are 2 types of carbohydrate. One is simple carbohydrates, other one is polysaccharides or complex carbohydrates. Simple carbohydrates are simple sugars. For example, you take the glucose, simple glucose atom, glucose molecule, and you take the sugars, simple sugars we are taking, and brown sugar, ordinary sugar, they are all simple sugars. And they are easily assimilated, they are absorbed into the body. And if you take simple sugars, there will be a sudden rise in the blood sugar level. And that is why we always recommend to reduce or restrict simple sugars in your diet. Now, the complex sugars are called polysaccharides. The polysaccharides, there are two types. Regular polysaccharides, they are all multiple units of glucose. Multiple units of glucose, they form polysaccharides. They are complex, otherwise called complex sugars. So, when you take a polysaccharide, that to be converted into glucose, it has to pass through so many chemical metabolic processes. So, when you take a polysaccharide, it takes a longer time, but it gives more energy, it gives more glucose molecules, and there is no erratic increase in the blood sugar level. Okay, so polysaccharides, when you common polysaccharides, they are all the fibers. Now we recommend fibers. In the carbohydrate means fiber. We take a lot of fiber. Fibers are polysaccharides that we recommend for them to, so that when you take, you get a satiety. When you take your food, you get a satiety. You are happy that you have eaten something, and there is no sudden rise in the blood sugar level. Even diabetic people, we recommend you take polysaccharides or sugar. Fibers. That's why fibers are recommended. So your diet should contain more of fibers. Now the carbohydrate level is 60% of the dietary requirement calories are come from carbohydrate, and this should come mostly from the polysaccharides, the complex sugars. So the polysaccharides, they are responsible for provision of energy and maintaining the body heat, for maintenance of body heat, and the fibers, they are gut healthy. They help the gut and they form a bulk in the gut, so they avoid constipation. Constipation is avoided, and they also provide necessary gut bacteria. Polysaccharides, they put gut bacteria. There is some bacteria that is good for the gut. They will always helpful for digestion. So these are all the important factors about carbohydrate. Now coming to protein. Protein, they are body building blocks. See, if you build a house, you need a lot of blocks in this. Some stones and cement, all these things. With all these things, you build a house. Likewise, the cells, molecules, organs, body, everything is built only by proteins. Why? Protein is unique. They contain a nitrogen atom. Either carbohydrate or fat, they don't have hydrogen atom. Nitrogen atom. They contain only carbon, hydrogen, oxygen. Because nitrogen is the basic building factor for the growth. So, for every cell, all cells contain nitrogen. The nitrogen comes only from the protein. The protein supplies growth. Not only all the cells, brain cells, bone cells, skin, everything, they are built by proteins. What is a protein? Protein contains a basic factors called amino acids. Just like glucose is a basic molecule for carbohydrate, amino acids are the basic molecules for proteins. These amino acids, there are two types of amino acids. One is amino acids, one is essential amino acids. What is essential amino acids? There are 11 essential amino acids. I don't have time to enumerate. These essential amino acids, they only constitute the basic structure of life. What is the basic structure of life? All of you know, that is DNA and RNA. The DNA and RNA, the string, they are all made only by 11 basic amino acids, essential amino acids. That's one part. Other amino acids, they constitute the whole body. They make up the whole body, especially the brain cells. You've got if we take the cardiac cells, heart cells, they are made of amino acids. Everything is made of proteins. The protein, they are the maximum builders for muscles. Muscle contain a lot of proteins. So, especially in the older people, see, when they go into a condition called sarcopenia. Sarco means muscle, penia means loss. Muscle loss will be there. All of you know, when you were 40, 50, we were all robust, you are bulky, you have strong muscles. Now when you cross 60, 65, you lose all your muscles. This is sarcopenia. The sarcopenia is loss of muscles. So to compare, to prevent loss of muscle, protein is required. So I have told, now I have told you the requirement of calories, protein is 25% of our diet. 25% of our diet should contain proteins. So then only you can have a normal body mass. You can have a normal function. Not only building up the body, not only body, starting for hair, nail, bone, skin, everything, all our organs are made up of proteins. Okay. Now, if you supply adequate, we don't supply adequate amount of proteins, their body will thin out. See, people, there are two things. One is obesity. Obesity is due to fat. But a muscular body is not fat, it is only protein. But the muscle is only protein. So maintain a muscle, the protein is needed. Especially in older people, when there is sarcopenia, loss of muscle tissue, muscle mass, the muscle fibers, they only maintain muscle and bone, the posture. If you want to stand up, the simple bone alone cannot stand. The bone, the muscles put some sort of support so that you are able to stand. So in the old age, when there is sarcopenia, loss of muscles, the fall is a very common occurrence, very dangerous occurrence, very bad occurrence in old age. That happens due to protein loss. So to prevent protein loss, adequate amount of protein should be supplied to the elderly people, senior people. Protein, the requirement, the calculated requirement or the rough requirement is elderly people need 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. 1.25 gram of protein per kilogram. Suppose somebody is say 80 kg. When somebody is 80 kg, of course, old people may not be 80 kg, 60 kg. Somebody is 80 kg, 60 kg, they need 75 grams of protein in the body, in the diet. So that comes about 25%. 75 means we are taking 300 grams of diet per day, 25% 75. So 25% of your diet should be protein. So where do you get protein from? Protein sources, there are two. One is animal protein, other one is plant protein. Plant protein itself is good one. So what are all the plant sources? Lentils, lot of lentils, and then nuts, peanuts and other nuts, and soya. Soya is a very good source of plant protein. It is not an animal protein. And our animal protein is milk. Milk and milk products. Milk contains lot of protein. Casein, that protein is called casein. Casein is present in milk, curd, butter, ghee. All these contain proteins. The protein, the universal milk protein is, universal animal protein is milk. Other than that, for non-vegetarian people, protein is available in lot of things. Fish, lean meat, white meat, all these things. Now we are not discussing about animal protein. The plant protein is available in most of the food we are taking. Especially we are taking the lentils, we are taking the nuts, we are taking some of the most of the vegetables. Lot of vegetables contain proteins. Even though rice and wheat may not contain protein, but lot of other vegetables they contain protein. So you have to find out, select the proper protein and use it to especially old people, so that you don't go for sarcopenia. So you maintain posture, you maintain muscle mass. Apart from this, brain function, the cognitive function, especially thinking, your memory, your decision making, they are all higher function, cognitive functions. All the cognitive functions, they need amino acids, they need protein apart from glucose. So this is essential. When there is a depletion of protein in old age, there is a decline in your mental function, there is a decline in your thinking, there is a decline in your cognitive function. So protein is essential. It is present even in inadequate quantity in the plants. Mushroom is a good source of protein. It's only a plant protein. Mushroom is a plant protein, and a lot of this thing. Soya is protein, and almost all the lentils, all the lentils they contain protein. So you should use adequate quantity of lentil, especially in our setup. Protein sources, okay, we can have daily one sort of a peanut or a soya or a peas, green peas or a rajma. They are all rich in protein. This can be avoided. They are included in our daily diet. At least one substance, so that you get adequate protein to maintain your health. Now, next one is fat. Fat, you always think fat means bad. No, it's not true. Fat is not bad. Fat also is an essential one. There are called essential fats are there. For example, cholesterol. You say we are all so much afraid about cholesterol. I will give one day an elaborate lecture on cholesterol. But the fats are substances. They are also energy providers, but not only like carbohydrate, but they have got another important functions also. Fat, the requirement of fat is about 20% in your daily diet. And in the fat, there are two types of fats. One is saturated fat, other one is unsaturated fat. See, whenever we think of any heart disease, we also think, oh, because of the fat he has got this. Of course, maybe true. And fat is a reserve also. When you take some food, the remaining food that is after consumption, that is converted into fat. That fat is deposited in your subcutaneous, in your body, especially in your face, in your trunk, thighs, back, all these things. Whenever needed, the fat is mobilized and converted into energy. But in obese people, obesity, excess of fat is stored. That is a bad situation. And this fat is situated in other region, bodies or parts of the body. You get a fatty liver, and you get if you see, take your heart, and you did a postmortem or something, we have seen lot of fat surrounding the heart. So fat is everywhere there, but without fat you cannot live also. For example, without fat you cannot make cholesterol. Without cholesterol you cannot make vitamin D, and without fat you cannot make the cell membrane. Cell membrane is made up of fat, and your brain cells, the nerve cells, they are all made of fat. So fat is as essential as carbohydrate and protein. The point is, there are two fats I told you. One is unsaturated fat. The unsaturated fats, they are very good. They are good fat. And because, for example, they are called unsaturated fat, means they are not saturated. They got some band, the vacancy, called in chemistry, the bond. Unsaturated means there will be a triple bond. They are called polyunsaturated fatty acids. The polyunsaturated fatty acids, they avoid or prevent LDL cholesterol entering into the blood vessels, thereby causing a heart attack. So, unsaturated, they are very good. For example, the oil, if you take our peanut oil is an unsaturated. Corn oil is an unsaturated fat. But if you take coconut oil, it is saturated. If you take other vanaspati, there are a lot of things in our daily diet which are all saturated. So saturated fats are harmful, and always avoid saturated fat. You see, how do you get saturated fat? All hydrogen